What's up, YouTube? Welcome to this channel. This is Jack, and hopefully you're doing awesome. In this lesson, what we're gonna cover together is gonna most probably skyrocket your guitar playing. But before I introduce the subject, because it's gonna take some time, so you're gonna have to listen to me introducing the subject and talking. Please stick till the end because it's all gonna come together, right? We have 4 steps, so it's all gonna come together. You gotta stick around. And in case you need the diagrams or the tabs for whatever we're covering today, don't forget to click on the link below and just, sign up for the free stuff and just download all the tabs you need for this lesson and all the other lessons. So let's jump right into it. Today, even though we're gonna be talking about scales and arpeggios, mainly it's all about creativity. It's our next step in our creativity journey and how to improvise better, how to sound more melodic, how to express ourselves better, okay? So the idea is to mix whatever scale you know with whatever arpeggio you know. Put them together. And as you know by now, when we're playing an arpeggio, we're more likely to be melodic because we're hitting the chord tones, which are the notes of the chords. If I'm playing on an A minor chord, so right now there's an A minor chord going on, and I play an A minor arpeggio, I'm hitting the notes of the chord, exactly the same notes. Therefore, I'm more melodic. However, it will sound boring if we only just do that and nothing else. And if we only play scales, it will also sound boring because it will sound scalar. So what we do is we mix those together and we try to be creative with it. That's it in a nutshell. But believe me, this is so powerful and amazing. You're gonna love that. So the step 1 is for you to review whatever scale you want to use. All right, so let's suppose we're gonna play the blues scale. So let's review the blues scale. Position 2. And position 3. We could keep going, like we could do position 4, but I'm not gonna waste our time here, so you have to do... Okay, I just played everything basically. So you have to do all 5 shapes, make sure you got that in whatever key you're playing. So right now it's A minor. I'll just review the minor scale with you as well. It's 2 things. It's either you're gonna use the modes if you know the modes, or you're gonna use the minor scale and its relative major, and you're gonna use the root on 6 and the root on 5 shapes. So as a just quick refresher, that's the root on 6, 3 note per string. That's the root on 5. Okay, or you can play the standard shapes. So the relative major would be C in this case. That's the root on 6. And the root on 5 is either here or here. So I don't think we'll use it over there. More often than not, we'll be soloing, around this area of the fretboard. So let's use that one over here. Very good. That's a refresher. That's step 1. You review whatever you need to review. All right, and step 2, it's all about now reviewing your arpeggios. We do not have to stick to the standard shapes, but for today's lesson, we will do that. Remember, as long as you're playing the notes of the chord, as long as you're playing A, C, and E in any particular order and anywhere on the fretboard, and if you play them one note at a time, then you're doing an arpeggio, an A minor arpeggio, okay? But let's stick to the standard shapes because that's how we're gonna mix the scale and the arpeggio. So because we're playing an A minor, we're gonna play the A minor arpeggio. If we're playing in any other key, we're gonna play the relevant arpeggio. So if it's C major, we're going to play C major. D major or D minor, we're going to play that. So the root position is that one. Or first inversion. So it would be a good time for you to review those and work on your technique in case it's lacking. So first inversion, second inversion. And if you want to include the minor 7, right, then we'll have the G note here as a minor 7. So we'd have to play the 2-1-2 shapes, which means 2 notes on the G string and then two notes, one note on the B and two notes on the E. Okay, like this one, or you do not have to do the minor 7. This was just a parentheses over here. Step 3 is to put them together. We do not have to be creative right now. It's just about visualizing the scale and the arpeggios together. If you noticed, I used 3 strings arpeggios. I could be using even more. I could be using 5 strings. But to keep it simple, we're just going to stick to 3 strings, which means that also for the scale, I will only be using the higher 3 strings of the guitar. E string, B string, and G string to keep things simple. Because we can really complicate this as much as we want to, but there's no need. Whatever you do on the first 3 strings, you can do them anywhere else. I'm going to use the blues scale, as I mentioned before. So I'm going to go up the arpeggio, ascend the arpeggio, descend the scale. Let's start with the first inversion. And I end on an A. Alright, so that's my first arpeggio. It is worth mentioning that, let's suppose you're doing the minor scale, you'd have to include the other scale degrees that are left out in the pentatonic. Okay, even more flavors here. It doesn't mean that when you're improvising you'd have to play all of these notes and in this order. No, right now we're just practicing that. Hey guys, I'm just here to tell you that if you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe and just like this video, and if you have questions, in the comments below, I'll make sure to answer each and every one of you. Alright, so let's get back to the lesson. Arpeggio second inversion. So this one is kind of funny because it's covering position 2 of the pentatonic scale and position 3 as well. So you'd have to choose which one you want to use. Well, in this case, I'm going to use both. Okay, let's ascend the arpeggio, descend the blues scale. Or instead of going down to position 1, we could do Alright, now moving on to the root position, and we're gonna play blues scale position 4. There you go. So you have to visualize those, practice them really well, you know. Practice them really well. Get used to them, because in step 4, this is where we're gonna get creative. So let's get creative. So first things first, you start just noodling without any context, without any backing track. Unleash your creativity, basically. Let it just, do its thing without any context, because sometimes the context will restrict you. All right, let's see what I can come up with. Alright, so something bluesy, funky, I don't know, that's without context, right? So I'm my own groove. And then if I put a backing track, depending on this backing track, it could be something really smooth and slow, such as... Right, so it could be something like that, or it could be something more funky where... Okay, so it depends. And this is going to shape your creativity. You start without context, then you put a backing track, and depending on the style of that backing track, you'd have to adapt, okay? You can use exactly the same licks you came up with, but you have to adapt them. You already know that, right? Okay, you have to adapt the rhythm, you have to adapt probably certain notes, timing, and all of that. Step 1, review the scale you want to use. Step 2, review your arpeggio. Step 3, put them together. Step 4, get creative. And probably step 4B, put on a backing track. Now, beyond this, what you can do is take that concept and play it in other areas, right? We did position 1, 2, 3, and 4. You still have position 5, and then you can repeat some of that stuff over there. And you can connect your ideas all over the fretboard. Another thing you can do is, instead of using the blues scale, obviously change the scale. You can use minor or whatever, or change the key completely, go for something major. What else you can do is follow a progression, because right now we're just focusing on A minor. Let's say you're playing over a funky track, right? Where you have a minor 7 and then D. But for those of you who want more sort of a challenge, you can follow the progression. So for A, for D, and so on and so forth. Alright YouTube, so that's about it. If you like this lesson, as always, please don't forget to subscribe and like. And if you like this lesson, you're probably gonna like the next one. Alright, so if you're ready to take on more challenges, click on the next lesson, and I'll see you there.